What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about the Arc board.
Got my backpack. Let's give this a shot.
Arcboard is a startup based in Singapore. They were first known for their ultra-portable last-mile solution. The penny-sized electric skateboard was launched on Kickstarter and it turned out to be a huge success. They since expanded their line of skateboards to other form factors while still retaining a really light type of board. So why did I pick the Arcboard? Well, I've been looking for something that was really light and really small, and the Arcboard was that. I've been riding an Acton Blink S2. Over time, it started to wear down, to the point where if I went over a crack, the hub motor would actually stop accelerating and I would have to stop the board, come to a full stop, and then accelerate. So that was pretty annoying. I wanted to switch to belt-driven motors. I've ridden only hub motors, and I've heard that because there's only a thin piece of rubber around the motor, it makes for a bumpier ride. And I'm hoping with a belt-driven system that the ride is a lot smoother. The Blink board was, 15 to 16 pounds. This Arc board is only 8.5 pounds. So carrying it, moving around, doing errands, it's way easier to carry around, and I really like that. My top choices were the Wow Go Mini 28-inch, although it had a hub motor inside. Of course, the Boosted Mini, Riptide, and all of these were around the same price range. But what caught my eye with the Arcboard was how small it was, how compact it was, how light it was compared to the other boards. But you'll see in my later impressions that this size can also be like a blessing and a curse.
Can you even see my electric skateboard?
So let's talk about the actual board itself. Now, this is all black and it's beautiful. It's really sexy. As soon as I saw this, I was like, whew. This is amazing. However, there are some downsides to this board, aside from how beautiful it looks and how easy it is to carry, how light it is, and how small it is. I do think that the size makes it rather difficult to ride, especially for beginners or people who are new to this board. It's gonna take 4 to 5 rides if you're experienced to get used to this. I'm 6'3" and I weigh 230 pounds, and I'm a pretty big guy, so when I ride this, it looks kind of funny. It really takes getting used to. You can't ride on rough terrain. You need to be really careful on how you pick your roads. I think they could have made the deck a bit wider without sacrificing any wheel bite, and I think a wider deck would have been perfect because it would give you more of that stability. Luckily, the trucks are really wide, and I really like that. So compared to an actual penny board, this is way more stable. As soon as you ride this, it's like it feels like really solid. It's just when you run over like rough terrain, I think part of that is the motor. You can see here the motor touches the ground pretty easily. You can see all the scratches I have here. That is a really big downside. I don't know if this is the same for all belt-driven motors, but when you go over rough surfaces and you hear this metal like scrape, and it kind of throws you off. It kind of like, whoa, you hear that scratch. Sometimes it throws you up, sometimes it throws you off, sometimes it doesn't, but I really wish it was a bit higher off the ground, so to avoid this, you have very little clearance. The wheels are pretty small for an electric skateboard. They're only 70 millimeters, and they have a hardness rating of 75 durometer, which basically means they're soft. And the wheels are smooth. They do take some rough terrain, some sidewalks, and overall, I do think it's almost as smooth as my hub motor Blink Acton board, but I wish that the wheels are a little bit bigger, because to get over bumps with more confidence, you kind of need bigger wheels. Like, these wheels are pretty small overall. Let's talk about the remote. You turn it on like this, and then there's a red light. Now, if that red light's blinking, don't ride the board, because it's gonna cause some really janky acceleration. When I first tried this remote, I was really excited, so I put in some crappy AA batteries, and I tried the board, and what would happen is I would accelerate, and the board wouldn't move, and then all of a sudden it would move, and that caused for some really dangerous acceleration.
And let's try.
Sometimes on riding the board, I would turn it on I put fresh batteries in. I would turn it on and I wouldn't know it's blinking rapidly, and I would get on the board and it would just like make these like noise, and I looked at the remote, I'm like, what the heck? I put in fresh batteries and it was blinking red. So right now it's blinking and it causes really like broken right now. So what I usually do to fix that is I turn it on, turn it off and turn it back on, and it kind of goes back to its red solid color, and the connection to the board is reliable.
Now it's working because it's solid.
So that's a big downside, is sometimes the remote doesn't work, but it seems to be pretty rare, and so far it's been good. Another thing I don't like about the remote is that it's really big. As you can see, it's about the same size of my phone, and you know, for such a small electric skateboard, you'd hope the remote would be just as small and more portable, but you know, I guess given the size of the AA batteries, it's that size. What's nice about the remote is there's no reverse, and I know that in the previous versions of the ARC board there was a reverse, so that's really dangerous if you come to a full brake and then you're holding down the reverse, you're pulling down, and then all of a sudden you just fly off your board and the board goes under a car, and that's it. So thank God they removed that feature. Here are the two boards compared side by side. As you can tell, the dinghy 24 inch and then this is the ARC board 22 inch. They're about the same size. This one weighs twice as heavy as this one. This is about 4 pounds, this is about 8.5 pounds, and you can definitely notice it, but for an electric skateboard this is really light. And if you compare the width of the decks, they're about the same, around 6.5 inches to 7 inches. Obviously the wider truck base, as you can tell, this provides a lot more stability than this one here. So two really cool boards, two compact, but this one is obviously for lazy people.
So this board is so easy to kick push. Check it out. Go.
So let's talk about pros and cons of the board, just to summarize this up. Right off the bat, the board looks amazing. It's extremely powerful, it's light, it's compact, and I really like that about the board. I think that's its biggest strength, is obviously its portability. So if you want a board that's portable, I really do recommend this. Another thing I like about it is stable. So the wide trucks, make it way easier to ride than like an actual mini skateboard, like a mini dinghy or a penny board. So I really like how the trucks are so wide. And another thing I like about the board is it's really easy to kick push. So if you run out of battery, you can just kick it like a normal skateboard. The acceleration is very torquey. It's very powerful, obviously, but that can also be a downside. We'll get to that later. But the brakes are buttery smooth. I love the brakes. I feel really confident using the brakes. They don't throw you off the board. The brakes are amazing. Great job on that. And for the range, unfortunately I haven't tested it. This is something that I don't really care about a board, as long as it gets me within a 5 kilometer radius. It's rated at 18 kilometers, but with my size and the way I ride, I don't know if it's actually going to be that. So for the cons of the board, the remote. I think the remote is way too big, and having to unscrew the back cover to replace the batteries really does suck. And I question the reliability between the remote and the board, the connection, when it's blinking rapidly, as I mentioned earlier, causing that really jerky acceleration. It's really scary. So I don't know what the problem is about that. Hopefully I don't see it that often if I keep my batteries fresh. Another downside to this board is the acceleration. There's only one mode, and that's from 0 to 30 kilometers. So you have to be very careful with the remote and how you increase the acceleration. And sometimes I find that I might increase acceleration a little too much, and that causes me to almost fall off my board. I really wish that there were 3 modes, a beginner, a medium, and advanced mode. That way I can avoid this type of problem with the remote. So as much as I love how small and light this board is, I do think that the size of the board is another downside if you're bigger than me. So I'm 6'3" and I weigh 230 pounds, and when I first rode this board, I was like, this board is not for me, this is crazy. But this is because I was so used to riding a big electric skateboard. And, you know, I reset my mind. I was like, no, this compact board has to be ridden differently. You know, you have to be more strategic on how you pick your roads. You know, you need to avoid rough terrain. You need to go on sidewalks, and you need to go at a much slower speed. So I think if you treat this as more of a skateboard assist, I think, you know, the size actually becomes a benefit more than a downside. And, you know, with the wide trucks, at least that helps. And I do think that it's a little bit overpriced. I mean, after, you know, shipping and the import fees I paid, I could have just bought a boosted board, which, you know, is obviously bigger. It's 16 pounds, but I was trying to save money. You're really paying for this really small, unique niche board. So overall, I think this is an amazing board, and depending on what you're looking for, if you're really looking for something small and compact, and you are aware of the difficulties of riding a smaller board, or you're prepared for it, or you know you have smooth roads or bike paths or whatever, I'd say get this board. It's amazing. The acceleration, how powerful it is, and how small it is. I don't think there's any other board on the market that comes close to this. I will be posting constant updates on this board as I use it, you know, maybe 3 to 6 months to a year, and I will let you know how the build quality has held up over time and over use. Unfortunately, I live in Canada and the winter is coming, so I won't be riding this board during the winter, but stay posted in the spring, and hopefully I can ride it sometime in the fall today.